Hey, party people, who's here? Roll call, where are you at? Let me know if my mic sounds okay. I had some problems with it on my last Zoom call. It was so annoying. Do, do, do. No, this is not a mukbang. I will not be eating. Just, my usual coffee addiction and my hydration to make up for my coffee addiction. Hello, hello. King Taylor, my stalker. I'm just kidding. Pet DK, Swade, so many names that I recognize from Patreon, Instagram, people who've sent me testimonials. I love all of you. Thank you for joining me this morning for my 7th birthday, my channel's 7th anniversary. Who- Suzanne is here. Suzanne, who faithfully comments on pretty much every video I've ever made. I appreciate it so much. And hello, everyone. Hello, hello, hello. Listen, before we start, I want to remind everyone that my store, shop.zoehong.com, is we're having my annual anniversary sale, 50% off everything in the store, no minimums, no maximums, no coupon code. So if there was something you wanted to get, any of my templates or practice packs or anything, today is the day for it. Everything is 50% off. And it's midnight to midnight on my anniversary. So you still have 15 hours left in the sale to go buy whatever you want. Have fun. Okay. Some people have started watching my video a few weeks ago. I know I recognize some of your names from like a million years ago. So that's cool. So yeah, I'm just gonna open it up to you all and go ahead and ask me it's a live stream AMA. So let her rip. Oh, I am going to do an official video for this, but my new Patreon class is going to be starting on September 1st. And it is a figure drawing deep intensive. So it's going to be configured much like my fashion design Patreon class, where I give a mini lesson once a week. And each week it comes with like a 20 to 30-minute video giving instruction on the new thing, and then a homework assignment related to that thing. And then we have a private Discord only for the Patreon people where you can post your homework assignment for feedback. And I give feedback on every single Patreon homework assignment posted. Okay. I do that for like, if I missed one, like my Patreon students know that they can just tap me and be like, oh, you forgot this one. But that's pretty rare. Like I look at everyone's homework. You don't have to turn in homework, but it does help. And we do a monthly Zoom where we just chat about fashion, drawing, illustration, whatever we want as it pertains to the class and any subjects that I teach on my YouTube channel. We do a monthly Zoom with Patreon only. And we do record it because, you know, my audience, you all are so international. You all are literally everywhere in the world. Hi, Judette. Judette is one of my Patreon stars. Her project is coming along beautifully, and I'm very excited for her. And oh, Bridal Sewing Techniques is here. Y'all need to go watch Bridal Sewing Techniques channel if you are at all interested in uh sewing construction, for in particular for fine fabric. So it's not just bridal. I mean, obviously she focused on bridal because that's her area of expertise, but I mean, just like her tutorial on lace techniques or how to hem a ball gown, like all these things that relate to all kinds of fine fabrics, evening wear, cocktail. Like if you're into that, you need to go check out her YouTube channel and her Instagram. I think it's at Bridal Sewing, right? And her Instagram, she's always posting these hilarious reels about like hashtag like sewing life, and she's really good at it. She's really good at getting like the right sound to match up with whatever shenanigans are happening in her studio. Love it. So yeah, so you should check out Bridal Sewing Techniques if the thing with my channel, which is hilarious to me, is like, y'all are from everywhere. Like, we have like 15-year-old high school students, and then, industry veterans, and then people who just enjoy making clothes for themselves, and then people who are making clothes for other people. So, y'all are everywhere. So, if you're into that kind of stuff, you need to check out Bridal Sewing. Do do do. Greetings from the Great White North. Well, okay, it's not white right now unless you're watching the waves of floodwaters across the farmland. Wow, Great White North, where? Are you talking about like Northwest, like Northeast Territories in Canada or something? Because I'm from Alaska. I consider it the Great White North. It was white like 6 months out of the year. And that was just in Anchorage, which is the one of the southernmost areas of Alaska. So yeah. What else is going on in here? Do, do, do. Yeah, so back to my Patreon class. So the Patreon figure drawing class, it's definitely fashion oriented because I am going to eventually give lessons on elongating the figure to fashion proportions and different kinds of fashion proportions. But, you know, if you've watched my figure drawing videos on here, you know that tons of like general illustration people, comic book illustrators, cartoonists, all kinds of artists like to follow my figure drawing methods because figure drawing is figure drawing. Looking at the body is looking at the body. And so once you figure, so the way the class is going to be structured is the beginning is going to be all about the basics of a realistic human body, anatomy. We're going to deep dive each section of anatomy, posing, gesture, angles, proportion, what is negative space and how to use it, frontal, three-quarter, back views and stuff. And then we're going to get to elongation and exaggeration, which is kind of the methods you use, when you dive into fashion and in comic book and, all these different things. But you have to know the core of your body first. That's how you get taught in art school as well. As, every freshman takes the same main figure drawing. Sometimes they call it life drawing if you're going to have a lot of live models. I wish I could have live models for you guys, but, such as it is. And everyone freshman year takes that life drawing class where we're looking at models, we're looking at drawing real people. And then when we go into our majors, we kind of focus our figure drawing interests into, the kind of drawing, the kind of illustration we want to do. So I'm going to be structuring my Patreon class like that. Like the beginning is going to be focusing on drawing real bodies. And I know that there are a lot of you who wanted me to teach an illustration rendering class. Yes, I'm looking right at you, Judette. I'm looking right at you. I remember. Somebody talked to Judette about the Fendi collections because I know she posted them on Discord. She wanted to gossip about the Fendi shows, and I didn't get a chance to look at them. And it's like an open tab right now, but I know she's dying to talk to them. So somebody obsessed with Fendi like Judette, like, go make friends with her. She's cool. So that's going to be the figure drawing class, and it, just like my fashion design class, um, it's made for adults who have full lives, like going to school, having jobs, having families. And so it's like a micro lesson every week. We're going to be learning a little bit every single week, like very slow, very deep dive, just like the fashion design class. And I'm going to have like a proper video with all the info like mid-August or something. But yeah, that's going to be the thing. And so the reason why I'm not doing an illustration class right now is human bodies are the foundations for all fashion illustration and design. And so if you want to design better, you should understand the body better. I am going to have that sizing video coming up soon. And if you want to be a good illustrator, even if you do something extremely stylized, you still have to understand the human body in order to dress the human body to become a better illustrator so that you can understand the base of your stylizing techniques so that they still look vaguely human. Okay. That's why I'm starting with the figure drawing class before I move into illustration or rendering. But I feel like a lot of people really wanted the color theory class too. So that might be the next thing, the color theory. I'm trying to start with like the most basic classes so you can build off of that. It's actually not too late to join the fashion design class if you want, because everybody is working at their own pace. There are some people who are still like doing sketchbook development. They have not finalized their color stories yet. Like they just started last month, and that's totally fine. I'm still giving feedback on all of that. It doesn't matter when you turn it in. So if you still want to join the fashion design class, go to patreon.com/Zoe Hong and you can still be there. Okay, let me scroll up and get to some of these questions. Do do do. I have not seen the Margiela show. Manitoba, Canada, currently being flooded out after spending most of the winter digging out from under blizzards. Dang. That's like really out there. Your videos got me into my dream uni fashion course. Yay! Congratulations, Gaz. I started in September. Is there anything you think I should be doing before I start? I think you should sleep. I think you should sleep a lot because once you start fashion school, you're never going to sleep again. You're not. I used to say this thing like in fashion school, actually, a lot of university programs, like you can do three things: you can sleep, you can work hard, and you can party, and you get to pick 2 out of 3. So I would sleep. I actually do have a fashion schools playlist where I talk a lot about what you should do in preparation for fashion school. So you can check that out for a more real answer. But I really believe like getting in your quality time with your family and kiss them goodbye because you're not going to be seeing them much while you're in school. And then also like lovingly embrace your bed because you're not going to see a lot of your bed while you're in school either, and just really enjoy those moments. And then go to fashion school and just put like your whole heart and soul into it. And don't forget that it can get, you can get wrapped up in the grades and the insanity of all of that. But a lot of professors, we live by the C's and D's, also get degrees. Well, it kind of depends on what school you're going to, but C's also get degrees. And it's really about learning. Okay. Number 1, it's about learning. And number 2, it's about networking. And it's about putting all your effort in. Okay. Teachers see that more than the A. Teachers see how much effort you put in, and you do it by showing and not telling. Teachers absolutely know about the students who just yap and yap and yap about how they're going to do this and how they're going to do that. And they have this great idea. Teachers can see that and they know. They're like, uh-huh, that sounds great. I hope you actually do those things. They notice the ones who actually do the thing without having to constantly talk about how they're going to do the thing. So be more of a shower than a teller. And that's good for your whole career, pretty much. What are some of the most annoying stigmas about fashion designers? Because that we're so melodramatic. Like when I'm on YouTube, when I'm interacting with people, I find teaching exciting. I find fashion exciting. So I get like really hyped up. But there's like a lot of like, oh, creative people are moody and melodramatic. And, they're so like sensitive. And it's like some people are like that. Not even gonna lie. Some people are absolutely like that. But we're not a monolith. There are plenty of really amazing creatives who are totally chill. Like if you watch I don't know, documentaries are weird. You kind of want to believe that documentaries are true. Um, but you all know that it's all careful editing. But there are some designers out there who seem like really chill. They just like work really hard. They love fashion. They love making clothes. Things get rough. And so, of course, everyone has their moments when they're tired. But, you know, chill people exist. Okay. Is the Patreon tier for fashion design the only tier that allows access to listen in on the private Discord/Zoom? Yes. That's all like an overall package. I am going to be I do think about like I'm in an art educators club for like sponsored by Patreon right now, and we're like throwing around ideas together about what could make a better Patreon. And so I have thought about like creating another tier where, you know, like a middle tier, because right now I have like a general support tier and then I have a student tier. And I have been thinking about, what could be in the middle tier so that people can get a little bit involved, but they're just not ready to take on a full-time class or can't pay for one yet. So I've been giving that a lot of thought. So let me know your thoughts in the chat, what you think would be like a middle, like anywhere from like $5 to $10 a month tier would be like, would you be interested in something where you get like a monthly meetup on Zoom with me where you can ask all the questions and we can chat? Ooh, you know what I'm excited about? I'm so excited about this. Okay. And I can't get one yet, but there's this thing where you mount it on your computer and it films whatever's on your desk, not your desktop computer, but like my actual tabletop, so that I can like live stream while I'm sketching in all one handy dandy easy sort of setup. My husband told me to wait until I think September 1st because like a better version is going to come out and that's going to be the one worth getting. But I'm really excited to get it. Why did my lighting change all of a sudden? And now I look like a freaking ghost. I didn't touch anything. Ah, hold on. I don't like looking like a ghost. I know I look really pale, but did you know that like up until about 3 years ago, my foundation color was the darkest color that most Korean uh, foundations offered? Like I love me a Korean cushion foundation, but I would always have to get the darkest color. Lighting is crazy. Lighting is crazy. Dun, dun, dun. Mummy Style says it's an amazing class. Thank you very much. Is the fashion one design still ongoing in terms of lessons? Yes, we're wrapping things up. So we're on the last lessons. I just finished up the portfolio sessions and now we're working through our tech pack. And then I'm going to have like one open lesson where it's going to be like final questions that I didn't answer along the way somewhere, anything else that you want to learn. And then it's going to move into the figure drawing class. You can still take the fashion design course because the lessons are still going to be up. So you can pay for the course when the figure drawing lessons start and just ignore the figure drawing classes and just scroll to the beginning of the fashion design classes and just take the fashion design classes if it's just a timing issue. I have an undergrad in business and finance. Should I do master's in fashion or restart again? Well, absolutely do not do undergrad in fashion again unless unless you're like really want to like become like a like if you're really invested in design process, um there are a lot of different pathways into fashion. So it really depends on your goals. Like if you want to do if you're entrepreneurship minded and you want to go and start your own fashion business, I don't think you need to start from scratch because you have like this business background now. But yeah, I wouldn't recommend going all the way to the beginning to do a fashion undergrad. Dulce's here. Dulce's been here since the beginning, y'all. Like supporting me from the beginning. I love you. Thank you very much. Do do do. Anytime management. Oops. Why did this scroll funny? I lost my place. Ah. Oh, time management tips for fashion school. I mean, it was just a blur. I don't know if I did much time management. Here's the thing is, you know what helped me? Not just in terms of time management, but just everything was to have a study group. And we can't really have study groups in the traditional way where we're all looking at the same answers and, quizzing each other. But my senior year, my favorite thing was my girlfriends Wendy and Susie and we did our design homework. Like we had different design classes, but for seniors, Monday was always design class. And so we would get together Sundays over at Wendy's house because she had a spare room where we could like lay out all our stuff and just crunch on our design homework like Sunday, late into Sundays. And then around 2 a.m., we would take a walk down to the corner 7-Eleven and get just hyped up on like hostess ding dongs and snowballs and stuff, and then go back to work. And then we would take naps. We would take turns taking naps. So like there would always be two other people to wake the third person up to their naps. And then we would have movies playing on in the background. And so we made that a standing date. And so we always locked in that time to do our homework. We were supporting each other by helping each other stay awake. We took little breaks together. Like it was immensely helpful to just get our work done and not get too depressed about staying up late all by yourself doing homework. So if you can create a little study group where you guys have a standing day to get your homework done together, I think that's really what helped me my senior year. Do you have a date for the figure drawing class? Yes, it's gonna start September 1st. It's a Thursday, and, if I've been posting all my fashion design classes on Saturdays, but, it's gonna start on Thursday so I can get people coming in, welcome people, and then the first lesson will be posted on Saturday. But as I mentioned before, everyone's working at their own pace, so if you don't get in, like, right at the buzzer, it's fine. I had a 4-month course in my fashion course where I didn't sleep much, and when we turned everything in, I got home and just knocked out in the living room. Exactly. Like, every summer vacation, the first couple of weeks, I just slept, just passed out, just sleep. Question: the fashion industry is so crowded and it's affecting our environment. Do you think we need new brands? How can we reduce waste? You should watch my latest, how to create a sustainable fashion brand video. And in that, I tell people to not start a brand. And a lot of people got mad at me about that, but I still stand by it. If you want to start a new brand, first of all, you have to want it a lot. Like it cannot be something, there's a lot of crap and trash out there because it's just a bunch of like half-hearted people just like, hey, yeah, let's do something. Like, only do it if you're like 100% excited, 317% excited about fashion and creating something new and offering something new. And you may be thinking, Zoe, there's nothing new in fashion anymore. There are underserved markets everywhere. So create something new for uh, little people, create something for very tall people, create something new for, oh my God, the adaptive apparel market is in such need of cute stuff. Absolutely. And it doesn't take a whole lot. Like you have to think about it. People want to get into fashion and take the laziest route to fame and money, and they want to go around telling people, yeah, I have a fashion business, but they don't want to put in the effort of creating something really useful to the world, like proper pants that are comfortable for wheelchair users. But there are so many things that you can offer the world that is fashionable and functional and desired and not a complete waste of space in the world. It's out there. Just the world doesn't need just like the same crap it already has. So look for the spaces where people are not getting what they need. I have been offered a place at fashion school. I've wanted to do this for years, but suffered for 26 years with chronic illness. I'm now recovered, but am 36. Is this too late, old to enter the industry? No, it's too late when you're dead. You're too old when you're dead. And as someone who suffered through chronic illness, I think you really understand. I really mean that. I really mean that. When I was in fashion school, I went right after high school. So when I met this woman, I was 18 years old, but I met this woman in my art history course, my freshman art history course, and she was in her 40s, and she had gone to law school because that was what her family had expected of her. It was like the, conventional career path that families push you towards. I'm sure a lot of you can relate to that kind of story. And she's practicing law, and she just one day was like, I can't. This just sucks. I hate it. And so she started squirreling away money, which as a lawyer wasn't that hard to do. But she started putting money away to go and study her original passion, which is graphic design. And so, yeah, she was in her freshman year as well, in her 40s, practicing law part-time because she still needed income while she was going to school, but she was starting all over again. She was really excited that she got to finally pursue her dream. And so whatever energy you may be lacking because you're a little bit older, and to be fair, like 19-year-olds have more energy than 36-year-olds, you're going to be you're going to make up for it in your passion for finally getting to do the thing that you've always wanted to do. And if you don't do it, you're going to regret it. My sister, she just turned 35 yesterday. And if you follow me on Instagram, you saw like the super cute pictures I posted of us. But she turned 35 yesterday, and she's been working in her field for 2 years. She took a really roundabout way to get to her career, and now she could not be more happy if she tried. She had to wait really late and save a lot of money to go to grad school. She went to grad school. She went to the best grad school in her geographical area for what she studied. And she's 2 years into her new career. She's 35 years old. She freaking loves it. And like, this is her thing now. Like, this is something she's wanted to do forever. This is her thing. And, we talked for a long time yesterday for her birthday. She's just really happy. So, yeah, mid 30s, not very old at all. Good luck with everything. Hi, Zoe. Do you have more information or tips regarding production management as a whole? That's a really big question. Like, production management is a big deal. You have to be very organized. I used to have a production manager who used to just, you would think he was kind of sleeping, but he's just really like staring at huge spreadsheets, just staring, like just reading and just like doing mental calculations as he's staring, and it's a big job, but like nothing beats firsthand experience. So if you can get a gig as a production assistant, let me tell you, in fashion, if it's not design or buying, you're going to have an easier time getting a job because everyone wants to be a buyer, or they want to be a merchandiser, or they want to be a designer. And not everyone wants the other job. So if you're interested in fashion production and you want to get a job, even if you don't want to end up in production, like even if you're trying to learn production so that you can eventually have your own fashion line, like go get a production assistant job and work for a really good production manager and really learn that side of things. I did that for a year, and it has taught me so much. What do you think of Dior Haute Couture? I think it's not great. The current, the whole thing with Dior taking credit for those, I think, Chinese skirts, telling people that that's Dior's new look. Okay, let me tell you something. Listen to me very carefully. I have never been a fan of Dior. Never. And I'm talking about all the way back to, Granddaddy Christian. Like everyone is like, "Oh, new look is so amazing." Yeah, well, women in America were doing that sort of thing in the years leading up to 1947, and like there were a lot of things that led up to it, and the new look was more gradual than anyone thinks. But, the thing is, post-war, people wanted to pick up people wanted a splash, people wanted to be seduced by fashion, people wanted a distraction from post-war recovery, and there was a post-war boom, and so all these things came together to make Christian Dior the superstar that he became. And I don't think it was particularly well deserved. I think he made some incredibly beautiful dresses during his 10 years at his own house. But I want you to take away from this like a few things. Number one, Christian Dior was well into his 40s when he first launched his label. He had been working for other people as a sketcher and as a designer. So if you are not a 27-year-old overnight success, it's not too late for you. You're still growing and learning, and you can model yourself after Dior if you want, but you don't have to be a young genius, Forbes 30 under 30 or some crap in order to be successful in your life. Okay. So that's one. And number two, so much of it is who you know and timing. And that's a good thing and a bad thing. But keep working. He kept working. He kept doing stuff, make beautiful things, work hard, all that stuff. But current Dior, I know she's trying to make things like a more feminist version of Dior, which I commend her for because Christian Dior's original vision of, the extreme feminine is not something that I adore. I do think that he set feminism back in fashion like another 20 years. And so I feel like I don't think that the way she's doing it is very good. I do worry about how people feel so like utterly nonchalant about spewing so much hate towards her though. Cuz listen, if she was not making a lot of money for that house, she would not still be there. There is no way that Granddaddy Arnault would keep her around if she was not making a ton of money for the house. Okay. So she is doing something right. And just because a bunch of 22-year-olds on Twitter don't like her dresses, who can't afford her dresses, she is absolutely like not disturbed by people's opinions who cannot afford Dior. Okay. I do think y'all should like roll down your hate so much because y'all do not know how hard it is to, be the creative director of a house that big and to, juggle, giving people what they want, the people who can afford the stuff, presenting something that is palatable for social media and to appease the minds of people who can't afford Dior, can never afford Dior, will never afford a Dior. Like, there's only so many things that you can prioritize when you're putting collections out there. And I think that some of the hate that she gets, people find it easier to hate on women. And sometimes I wonder if people were presented blindly a collection from Dior without knowing who designed it, if they would be so quick to write such vitriolic crap about her. So maybe you should just, I say I don't like collections all the time. If I don't like a collection, I don't. I just stop myself from like going after their whole personage though. It's like this is not a good collection and here's why I don't think so. There's difference between people critiquing it like that and then also critiquing Dior for cultural appropriation of that skirt, things like that. There's a difference in that and just being just like the hate parade. Do 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 do. Okay. La da da. Where am I? What is your opinion on NFTs? I don't really have one. I'm just not all that interested. Hello, 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 hello. There's a lot of just hellos. It would be nice to have a middle tier where I could view the Zoom. Okay. Cool. All right. Middle tier, not fully committed to the design path. Uh huh. Okay. Cool. Thank you. Uh, a fashion education center on everything fashion within a community Discord on Patreon would be amazing. I don't exactly know what you're talking about, but I do have a public Patreon that's not connected to the Patreon. Rewind. I do have a public Discord community that has nothing to do with the Patreon Discord. I have two Discords. So if you want to join that one, you can. That one's open to the public. And there are threads in there, channels about all kinds of stuff. I also have a Facebook group with 6,000 members where we just post about all kinds of stuff. So there's that. And that group is pretty good about answering questions people have. So there's that. How did I get into fashion and which uni did I go to? I've been into fashion since I was a small child. So I don't really have any idea as to how that happened. I've just always liked drawing and clothes and stealing my mom's fashion magazines ever since I was like 4 or 5 years old. And I went to Otis College of Art and Design, which is in Los Angeles. It is a tiny private art school, 900 something undergrads. That's it. Very small, which means all your teachers know your name, all your teachers know your projects, and it's that small environment. And some people really thrive under a small environment like that. Some people do not. So it's kind of like whether or not your preference in what kind of school environment you like. Doo-doo-doo. Is there one where we do it as a cohort with you live? I am doing a Patreon fashion design project alongside, my students as part of the lessons. Like in the lessons I do, I'm creating my own design collection. Not that I'm going to make it or anything, but I'm designing a collection along with everyone to teach the steps. And it's a complete collection right now that I'm still using a piece from that collection to fill out the tech pack. So maybe that's what you're talking about. But I don't do anything live except these live streams because everyone is everywhere in the world. Like I can't do a class live because only 2 people would show up. My friend and I, we make these jokes that when I do meetups, only like 5 people show up because I have 2 fans in every city across the globe. Like I don't have an epicenter of fandom. But like I have people telling me, Zoe, I'm in Senegal. Zoe, I'm in the Canary Islands. Zoe, I'm in the Philippines. Like just places so far from me, which is cool. I like it. I want to be a fashion designer, open my own fashion line. I just don't know where to start. Any advice? Go watch my How to Start a Fashion Line playlist. You can start there. Okay. Bridal sewing techniques. AMA question. If you weren't in the fashion industry, which industry could you see yourself in? I really can't. Like, I really like fashion. And I've transitioned into teaching, which I actually like better than being a full-time designer. But I would work somewhere within like the overlapping circles of fashion and education, like somewhere in that overlapping space, you know? Like I really love teaching. What do I know how to teach? Fashion. Like that's so anything art related. It's funny because some people have told me that they really like just listening to my voice. Like they'll be cleaning their house with one of my playlists playing in the background. And I'm like, thank you for the watch minutes and the ad revenue. Thank you very much. That's the best way to support me for free. Like if you don't have money to support my Patreon or my YouTube membership and you want to support me, just like play one of my YouTube playlists, just let her rip and just go do something else if you don't want to watch. Okay. And then I earn more ad revenue and the view time, and you have to pay $0 to it, Perfect. No, but, like, people say that because they like hearing my voice and they find it relaxing. I've had a lot of, people from the medical industry, doctors, nurses, med students, tell me that after a stressful day, they like to come home and, like, turn on one of my color theory videos where I'm just, like, talking about vocabulary and stuff that they will never use. And, yeah, so people have told me that I should go into audiobooks and narrate audiobooks. And if I were to really, like, move away from fashion, I might do that. I might do that because I do like reading and I do like talking. When I was a kid, I briefly wanted to go into transportation design because I do really love car design. I really like cars. I really love trains. When I was younger, my father insisted I should become a lawyer, not because necessarily because of the prestige of law, but he thought I was such a brat who was good at arguing. He's like, I don't know why you can't be making a lot of money with how good you are at arguing with me. I could be quite convincing. I could be quite convincing. Do, do, do. I'm not a fashion designer, but I've been using your methods for costume design and illustration. All right. How to sign up? If you're talking about my Patreon, everything is at patreon.com/Zoe Hong. I'll put it in the chat. You can go there. There's an FAQ section that you can also read. Do, 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 do. Okay. Create a mother of the bride line. Everything is revenge dress or queen mother. Y'all read Am I the Asshole on Reddit? Like, they have some crazy mother-in-law stories. Like, I've been blessed. I had a really nice mother-in-law. And listen, here's a life tip. Here's a life tip. Get you a mother-in-law who you don't share a language with, okay? Because my husband is from another country and she's passed away, but before she passed away we had a great relationship. She didn't speak much English and I didn't speak her language very much, or at all. And so we communicated. Like, we love going shoe shopping together, we love listening to opera music together, we love to go eat. I loved her people's food, she loved my people's food, and so we had a great relationship. But we didn't have share language, so she couldn't ask me stuff like, when are you going to give me grandkids? Get you a mother-in-law you don't share a language with, okay? That's my life tip. But yeah, there's some crazy, like, mother-in-law stuff, and also, like, and I'm not gonna blame, like, there are those mother-in-laws who decide to show up in a white gown for their kid's wedding. That's just nuts. But yeah, there's not a lot of great options for middle-aged women, period. Everything looks super matronly, or everything looks like something their daughters would wear, but cut bigger. Okay, that's not it. So those of you who are asking, like, fashion is full up. What should I make? Make really cool stuff for older women, middle-aged women. That's not complete trash, still fashionable. And you know what? Those women have money. You know, they're either been established in their careers for a while, and so they have more money to spend on things like clothes, or they're with their husbands who have a more stable career and have a little bit more money, and they're spending their husband's money. That's the reality, okay? It's one or the other, okay? And yeah, they just have more money to spend on stuff like clothes. Y'all should be targeting, like, a lot of products, like, in general across the board beyond fashion. Y'all should be targeting products towards uh the middle-aged woman, period. You know why? You think about your average household, and I am talking cross culturally, cross ethnically. You think about your average family household, who is making the purchasing decisions for the whole house? Clothes, accessories, home goods, kitchen appliances. Who, on average, is making those decisions? So, y'all need to be gearing your money and your marketing on the people who have the dollars and who are making the money decisions in your average household. Doo-doo-doo. Yeah, a lot of people are asking me like how to start your business. I do have a how to start a fashion business playlist, and you can start there. Um, Now 300% inspired to become a lingerie designer for fuller busts. Any pointers, resources, routes? Hmm. I think that you need to I think that's great. Like a lot of what I hear from fuller busts or I'm not hearing from fuller busts. I'm hearing from people with fuller busts. Uh, a lot of what I hear from people with fuller busts is they have a lot of supportive bras that are ugly. And so, yeah, that is something that women are looking for. I would, my first thing would to be go buy a few, to go buy tell which ones are popular, which ones are working for a lot of people. I would buy a couple that are awful and just try to like troubleshoot why they're so awful, what is working, how you would fix them, because it makes you aware of the problems more than a good bra, you know, and really get into the product development side of it, the nitty gritty, and like start taking these bras apart and analyzing their patterns and how they're constructed. You know what's cool is, like, I've noticed that when I was traveling to Northern European countries, because, uh, of the demographic there is a bigger selection of bigger bust bras, sizes, you know? And when I have traveled to, say, South America, there is more clothing that accommodates bigger butts. Think about that, okay? I recently learned that Lululemon has a cut called the Asian cut, and it is a little bit smaller and it is a little bit shorter and it's a little bit roomier in the calf because a lot of East Asians have wider calves, myself included. Okay. So there are things where there's like geographical kind of generalities when it comes to bodies. If you want to go on like an educational shopping trip, like hit Belgium, I went to Antwerp and there were so many bra stores that went up to like K cups. Was like, wow, okay. What's a good market to enter? I'm considering retail and upcycling or mass customization. I mean, those are all really good. Anything that's not using up too many brand new resources, I think is great. But right now, adaptive apparel is the biggest market lacks the fewest, that has the fewest available things and is like the biggest booming industry. Okay. Because adaptive apparel covers, you know, part-time and full-time wheelchair users to people with arthritis who, need different closures. Like magnets are a very big deal. There's a whole industry devoted to clothes just for recovery, like people who have to access wounds with shirts that open in like kind of unconventional ways so they could tend to their wounds over time. Like shirts that can accommodate um, insulin pumps and colostomy bags, like all these things, but are still like cute and can wear out and they just don't look like scrubs, you know? There's so much potential in this market. So if you want to like do something that kind of puts them together and talk to some wheelchair users and awesome stuff. Okay. Someone's like, old, what about 61 years old? Yeah, see, young and old, they're all relative terms, but there's space for everyone. Okay. Like, Vera Wang, she didn't make her first wedding dress until she was 40. That was an agreement she had with her father. And yeah, she lucked out because she did get that first $100,000 loan from her dad. Her whole story is like she was a Vogue editor before because her father said there was no money to go into clothing design. And so when she decided, no, I really, really want to do this, she talked to her dad and he said, I will give you $100,000 loan only if you do bridal because that's the only market right now where you can make money. I mean, this was 30 years ago when she first started. So that's not pertinent advice now. And so she's like, fine. And that's how she got started. But do keep in mind that she had like an amazing network at Vogue and like through her editor days. But she did have that loan from her dad, but she did go into bridal because his business sense said, and it was true. When Vera Wang came out, all the, the bridal options out there were very fussy looking, were very like overly decorated, were very elaborate, and that's fine, but they look very traditional, very wedding cake, and some people really love that. No diss on that. But she was offering minimal styles, modern, simple, things that were not on the market. And so people like to think, "Oh, it's all about creativity, and if you're not creative enough, you're just not going to make it." That's not true at all. She, like, saw the hole in the market, gave customers what they wanted, used her network to spread the word, got a loan from her dad, like, all these things. So fashion and making it in fashion is not always about who's the most creative person. It's about good business ideas, observing the market, seeing what you can do with your skill set and what is needed out there, and then also the loans don't help. Like Tory Burch got a $2 million loan from her husband to start. So yeah, and she's a socialite in New York. And so she got all of her rich friends to start wearing her ballet flats. So do 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 do. Please do that bra line. Big limousine girls have few options. Is that the slang term? Big limousine girls? I like it. I'm not exactly a big limousine girl, but I like that term. It's fun. Okay. La la la. What? This thing likes to pretend I need to go faster. Okay, so I guess I do have to go faster. I really want to start a fashion blog. Do you think it will help me get me a step closer to the fashion journalism industry? Yes, but only if you're super dedicated. Production, what does a production assistant do? Oh, um, just like assist the product production manager. Production managers, they oversee, like, they talk to people. So it's kind of hard. Like an article of clothing. Let's talk about the life cycle of an article of clothing. So it goes from design, right? And then it goes into product development, which means tech designers, pattern makers, sample makers. It goes into fittings. The thing gets fitted. And then if you're doing wholesale, it goes to market. And then, like, the decision comes from somewhere that you're going to produce in bulk. Okay. Let's say you're going to produce 1,000 of one pair of leggings. Okay. That gets moved over to the production manager. And production managers, a lot of the time, with fashion merchandisers, they will insert their opinions, their educated opinions beforehand, being like, we should order this much. We should order this much overage because of our past history of this style of, what our customers like. We should order more pink because I think we're going to sell out of the pink immediately. Like those kinds of things, like, because production managers have been doing this and they are in charge of all the reorders and stuff, and fashion merchandisers look at all the sales numbers from previous seasons, they have this knowledge to put into the production. So the production goes in and you order 1,000 units of this, and so the production manager oversees it, whether it goes overseas or whether it's done. And there's more to do hands-on if you're doing domestic production where you're overseeing it. So you have to, work with purchasing to get all the materials ordered and then shipped over to whoever's doing the cutting, and then get the stuff cut and then send over to whoever's doing the sewing. Make sure all the trims are being ordered and sent over to the sewers, because sewing factories do not start your production without having everything. So if you're doing a pair of leggings, like all the fabric, all the thread, all the contrast, all the piping, all the elastic, you have to have everything before they start sewing. And, a lot of that has been removed from the production manager's responsibilities because there are so many vertically integrated factories now, much more so than there used to be. Like, there are a lot more places where they do the whole thing. They even do some of the sampling. A lot of places, some places do only production, but they do everything: cut, sew, finish, trim, all that. but they oversee all that, make sure everything is done on time, everything is moving smoothly, making sure that like all the vendors are getting paid along the way, so that things can be picked up and shipped to the next step. And they oversee all that process and make sure everything is running smoothly and on time. And then the production assistant supports in whatever the manager needs to make all that thing happen, which means a lot of emails. Which means sometimes you stay late at the office so that you can have a conference call with Hong Kong. you know, Fun stuff. All right. Do do do. I loved your how to illustrate a multi-figure composition series with the 6 videos. Will you be creating an updated video on the topic? I don't know. What do you think that I need to answer that I didn't answer in the first one? How's your book coming? I got distracted. It's a long story. I'm a FIT grad who's opening an online fashion store this September. Your channel is just like classes in college. Thank you. Oh yeah, the book. Oh yeah, the book. I'm actually trying to okay. Right now, I'm working on a book on this is not the final title, but the title I call it in my mind right now is the Plain English Guide to Sustainable Fashion, where I have 2 co-authors, and we're trying to create like a sustainable fashion vocabulary guide, an illustrated guide to help people navigate sustainable fashion, but in a way that like kind of simplifies the science. It's not too convoluted to read, so that people are going to read about it because it's easier to digest. So. Pattern makers need a lot of work. People are always like, "Oh, you don't need to go to school to be a fashion designer." I firmly believe that you need to go to school to be a pattern maker because there's so many things to learn. So even if you don't go to like a 4-year program and you're taking a lot of just courses here and there, you absolutely need to go to school. Pattern making is very hard to learn by yourself. It can be done. I'm not saying you can't, but it is far more difficult than fashion design. Pattern makers are the engineers of our industry, and you need some math, arithmetic and geometry. You don't need to know calculus or anything, but there's a lot to be learned in pattern making. And I do recommend for a lot of people to specify a category of pattern making. Like I have a friend who is a great pattern maker, but for wovens. She's really good at women's wear. She's really good at wovens. But when she had a big knits project came in, cut and sew knits, she actually hired someone to help her with that because she just didn't have enough knits knowledge to do the project justice, and she knew that about herself. And that's great, that's fine. Everyone should have like a thing that they're really good at. Like I know this other pattern maker, her expertise is leather and outerwear, and she's great at both. She could do other things, but those 2 are really her specialty and what people come to see her for. And so I would recommend that you kind of maybe take like a general pattern making class just to see what you're good at, what you enjoy, all these things, and then eventually decide to kind of stay in one category. Been here since day one. Thanks, Barney. You set a goal for YouTube and now you're competing your dreams in social media. Your page has changed lives. Oh, that's nice. Zoe, what do you think about the Kanye West Gap launch? How dare you? You said it yourself. You face palmed and laugh emojied in your own comment. Talk about stuff people don't need. Okay. This is the kind of stuff I'm talking about. Stuff people do not need. Okay. Are 3D fashion illustrations the future of handmade fashion illustration? What is a 3D fashion illustration? Oh, you mean like Clo 3D, like that kind of thing? Yeah, I do think so. Y'all should watch my interview with Marcus Kahn, who is a fashion illustration agent. And we talk a lot about the future of fashion illustration. And because he's been in that field working with like top brands and designers to do collaborations through his Instagram page, Draw Dot, he has more intel on that kind of thing. It's a really good interview. You should check that out. It's all in my interviews with industry professionals playlist. She put the Ussie on the chain wax. I don't know what that means. I'm too old for that shit. Is it possible to go to fashion school somewhere in America if you live in Europe? Of course, if you can get accepted to the school and if you can pay. My general understanding with most schools in the US is that if you're an international student, financial aid is not generally not available to you. Okay, I'm just going to skip some questions I just do not know the answers to. What do you think of the sad state of Vogue magazine? Am I being too harsh? No. Anna Wintour, she, she's still there because she has so many connections, but she doesn't have any ideas. She just needs to hire someone for better ideas. Maybe narrate fashion books. I would love to narrate a fashion book. Like narrate all the crazy like drama around Jean Patou. Although like I'd have to work on my French accent. I would take like a Duolingo class to work on my French accent or just go live in France for a month so I could work on my French accent before narrating a book about a French designer. Oh, I love it. I love this life plan for me. This is a great idea. Who is this? Catalink? Okay, we're doing this. It's a business expense. I have to improve my French. So I would go live in France for a few months and it's a work investment. Who's a genius? You are. Oh my god, it's 10. It's like we're an hour in. All right. Jordan 14s are based on the Ferrari shoes This is why I love shoes. This makes so much sense now. Absolutely makes sense. I love it. Does Otis allow to teach fashion at university? I know that with degree from Cal State Long Beach you can. I haven't ever looked into teaching at Otis at my alma mater. I don't live there and I don't live in LA anymore either. I don't know. Every school has different requirements of the people who want to teach there. My mother-in-law is from another country that is the best. You know it. It's true. Distance makes the heart grow fonder. Okay, we used to travel. We like my husband and I would travel over there, or they would come to the US and we would travel together once a year, and it was great. We had an amazing time all week long, eat a lot of food, drive around, look at stuff, amazing stuff. And then we would go our separate ways. We would keep tabs on each other on Facebook. The end. Beautiful, beautiful relationship. I was like genuinely sad when she passed away because we actually had a good relationship. But I know that not everyone is blessed to have that kind of relationship. Can you write down the name of your uni? The one I went to? Okay, yes. I will write it in the chat. The Pukankas here. Thank you. That's another OG name that I remember from a million years ago. Do. Thank you for your channel. Been a fellow YouTuber in fashion for 10 years. How do you sustain the motivation to keep putting out? I'm pulling back a bit to replenish. And yeah, that's okay. You can pull back to replenish. I've taken some breaks here and there, like one for family emergencies. I had a medical problem with my eye once. And then when my father was dying, I took 6 months off. Life happens and your audience will be there for you. But yeah, you can take breaks this year. And I put this in my newsletter, and I don't know if I like really express myself fully because I don't know that I'm that great of a writer. I communicate well verbally, but I don't know if I'm a great writer. But I was talking about how, there's this whole thing where when you do things on the internet, people just assume you're a content creator. And I've struggled with that a lot. Not because I have any snobbery around content creation. I think there are a lot of content creators out there who are doing a lot of amazing things, who are just like bringing the joy of being entertaining and funny, who are teaching things, who are showing things. But I'm not a content creator, and I never felt comfortable with that title. I've always called myself a teacher because that's how I really see myself. And so it's been a struggle the last year trying to find my footing as like, and it kind of all started when my Instagram numbers started tanking. And, I've decided to just not be disturbed by that anymore because my YouTube channel keeps growing. My Patreon is thriving. And, my freelance jobs and offers for this, that, and the other, they keep coming in. But like Instagram, Twitter, like I'm just not going to be bothered by it anymore. I've decided that I'm not a content creator. that I am a teacher and that I should just focus on my strength and my joy, which is teaching. Because, you know, these 1-minute reels where I teach one thing and like to a background of popular music, I'm not good at that. There are tons of people out there who are so good at that. Good. Great. Everyone has different skill sets, but I'm not good at that. I'm much better at long form teaching. I can't give a short answer to anything to save my life. And that's why this thing is going to scroll forever. Okay. But yeah, just key in on what brings you joy and what is your strength and go with that. I've like told myself this is year 7 and I'm really going to be focusing on making good videos, focusing on my Patreon lessons, which is literally my favorite thing these days is to make my lessons for my Patreon students. Like literally my favorite part of the week every week. And really focus on that and just don't worry about the stuff like Instagram. Like my Instagram is completely stalled out and I do post stories and stuff because I do love to touch base with people there, but I'm just not gonna let it bother me anymore. Do Oh, I lost my uh do you watch RuPaul's Drag Race? I used to. I do like RuPaul, but I don't have a TV. Where does it stream? Because I don't have a TV. When my best friend Kenny used to live up here, I used to go over to his house and watch it because he has a TV, but I don't actually know where it streams. He moved. Are there any adequate pattern making online classes or is this something that is best to take in person? I personally think that it's best to take in person. You know, pattern making is like very hands on. It's really hard to teach online. I know that they exist. I used to teach at the Academy of Art University in San Francisco, and they have a very comprehensive online program, and you can even get your whole degree online. But I cannot speak for how good individual classes are because I just don't know. Do you like Nancy? Wait, why does this thing just keep? Do you like Nancy Riegelman's fashion illustration books? I don't know who that is. I only like one fashion illustration book. It's written by a woman named Michelle. Like all my book recommendations are in my Amazon store. I have a storefront and I have art supply recommendations, book recommendations. Just go to amazon.com/shop/Zoe Hong. I'm going to put it in the chat. You can see all the things that I recommend there. There you go. Narrating fashion books is your plan B if we burn you out. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. And I'm going to go live in France as part of my education and expenditures. This is my favorite thing that has ever happened to me on my channel that I still laugh about, okay? I'm gonna tell you, I've told Bridal Sewing Techniques this story, so she's gonna be bored, but because we chit chat on Instagram. I told this story, but this is one of my favorite things that has ever happened on my channel. Okay. So I have a video called What is Haute Couture? And I said something in that video saying, "Listen, my French accent is not great because I'm not a French person, but I'm pretty sure you're gonna be able to understand what I'm talking about. So chill out on the French criticisms, okay? I'm not teaching a French language course." Okay. And then I like proceeded to have the whole video. And then in the comments, there I did get a few nice comments where they're like, "Yeah, Zoe, you know, it's obvious you're not a French person, but we understood everything you were saying. So people do not need to hate on you." And I'm like, "Thank you. That's so great." Okay. That was my goal. Okay. I know I'm never gonna have like a beautiful natural French accent. It's fine. And then someone else came along and they weren't rude, but they were just kind of like, "Well, I would have pronounced it like this." And then someone else commented on that post. They were like, "Well, I am from such and such in France, and I would have pronounced it like this." And there started this little argument where the French are arguing amongst themselves about how they would pronounce French words, and I am just like on the sidelines watching this interaction, laughing. And then someone else finally comes along and they say, "Huh, this whole time I thought couture was pronounced kosher." I laughed so hard. I still laugh about it. And I was reading this exchange out loud to my husband, and I was like, "Listen, forget the French. Forget the French. They're gonna argue amongst themselves about the correct pronunciation of couture until the cows come home. So I'm gonna go all American, and I'm gonna call it cooter. From now on, haute couture is now hot cooter. Now, if you're American and you know the snack, then you know, okay? I sing it like the Hot Pockets theme song. Hot cooter. All right. So from now on, haute couture is now hot cooter. It's hot cooter in my house. Whenever we talk about haute couture in my house, we call it hot cooter. And that's just how it's going to be forever. Okay. Because the French can't even decide how they're going to pronounce things, and they're going to correct me until the cows come home. So I'm just going to go the whole opposite direction. If you want to call it kosher, like that one commenter, that's fun too. But hot cooter that's the way for me. That's the way for me. But that is the funniest one of the funniest exchanges that has happened on my channel. It's like I feel blessed to have these kinds of exchanges on my channel. Like I do see people having conversations in my channel, like actually helping each other out, giving each other resources, having full-on conversations, and I love that. But that exchange was seriously the funniest. So, yeah. The whole time I was doing the couture review video from last week, my hot cooter shows. And listen, if those shows are going to be that boring, yeah, like they don't even deserve hot cooters. They're just like cooters, right? Yes. Motion to the heretofore referred to as hot cooter. Yes. Yeah. So hot cooter forever. All right. I got to scroll back up to, I think I missed some questions. Bum, ba, bum. How can we help consumers appreciate clothes? I love this question. This is something I rant about a lot. Okay. There's this thing where people talk about clothes and how they don't want to spend a lot of money on clothes because they think it's shallow. Okay. And I'm talking about people who are kind of outside of fashion, but they are still like the bulk of our consumers, right? And I super hate this. I super hate this. If you do this, please stop doing this. Okay. I hate when people say, I spend my money on experiences and not things. And I know that the original intent behind that saying is to encourage people to not be materialistic. I get that. But what ends up happening is people want to have these experiences and buy these disposable one-time use things to have the experience in. And they don't, and that's how we end up with so much trash fast fashion. They go to Forever 21, they go to H&M. Nobody goes to Forever 21 anymore. Excuse me that I said that. They go to H&M, they go to Zara, and they get these cheap clothes to have their one experience in, and then they trash the clothes later on because they're not materialistic, because it's all about the experience and not the things. And it just makes me crazy, okay? And it makes them waste more money and waste more resources and throw more stuff in the landfill than people who are just thoughtful about their purchases because they buy things that bring them joy and that they're going to love for a long time. That doesn't even mean that they have to wear them. I have things that I don't wear often, but bring me joy. Where's my hat? I was going to wear my big hat. Crap. 1 second. See? Uh, do I wear this hat a lot? No, I don't. Does it bring me so much joy, more joy than like so many of my other clothes and accessories? Absolutely. Okay. So buy the things that bring you absolute joy, and think a little bit more carefully about the purchases that you make for the long run and not just experiences. Okay. I'm in these travel groups on Facebook because I love to travel and I love to hear about other people's experience in such and such countries. But a lot of the time what ends up happening is they're like, "Well, I bought things for this one thing and then I'm like, and then what? And then what?" So, I think that the way forward now is to think about clothing as experiences and how you can create an experience for your customer so that people are viewing clothes with more reverence than before. The food industry did this very well with all of these movements towards organic, farm to table, the cooking experience, cooking classes, having a Michelin star chef like teach like to cook in front of you as an experience, like all this experiential dining, food trucks, parties where like there's like a bunch of food trucks and you go truck to truck, like trying things, like creating an experience around food as opposed to just stuff you eat. That's how, and now you have people who are spending so much money on food when what makes me crazy? And let me tell you, as a Korean person, I love food. I love food a lot. Okay. And I have the belly to prove it. But how are you going to be spending $30 on a meal that you're going to shit out in 8 hours, but then you think $30 on a t-shirt that you can wear many times over is too much money? I hate everyone. When people say this, it just makes me like a people hater. Okay. I'm not really a people hater, but it makes me turn into one temporarily. Okay. So consider the story that you tell that. And this is why I keep harping about, where are my Patreon students? I'm always harping about the brand and creating a story for your customer and for your brand and all this. And so this is what I'm talking about: creating experience, creating a story. What does your customer need? What is your brand all about? And bringing all those things to it. Okay. So I hope that answered your question. But create a brand story that is unique. Create a product that is bringing something unique. Make it an experience. Like I was who was I talking to? Maybe my general Discord, where I was talking about how there's this lingerie company that, so basically what happens is a bride gets their wedding dress and then they get it altered and they save the scraps from the alteration, and then they send it to this lingerie company, and the lingerie company creates like some sort of lingerie with the scraps, like maybe a bra and panty set, maybe they have enough for a little slip, something like that. But then it imbues the lingerie with memories of her bridal dress because it's the same materials. It reminds them of the wedding. It's a way you can wear your wedding dress again without hauling out the big old thing. Like, it's meaningful. And I think it's a really beautiful way to, one, use up scraps because I'm huge on that. Two, create something that's meaningful and special, and to create an experience for your customer. I think it's a really beautiful way of doing that. So think about ways that you can offer something like that. Yeah, it's hard to figure out what social media wants from us creatives. It's I'm in a weird space too. I'm not just like illustration all the time or, whatever. It's anyway. Drag Race is on Paramount Plus. Noted. Okay. Okay. Indian fashion design graduate. How can I get career opportunities as a freelancer abroad? Illustration stuff. Uh, that is really a question more for Marcus. And so I do recommend again that you watch that interview with Marcus Kahn in my interviews with industry professionals video. You could say you create educational video content. I do, but it's like most people, when they think of content, they think of shorter form content because TikTok, YouTube Shorts, Instagram Reels, those are like the big hot ticket items now. But I don't relate to that kind of content. So, and it's not even so much that I like being on YouTube best or being on online best, because I have more opportunities to go into classrooms via Zoom have opened up. And hopefully that will turn into more in-person visits. And that also makes me very, very happy. And also like meeting with my private clients and students one-on-one also makes me really happy, helping them figure out their school portfolios, helping them sort out their businesses. So I don't know. Like all those things make me happier than like trying to figure out TikTok. One of these days I'll figure out TikTok, maybe. I don't know. I recommend you look up Nigel Chia. He's a hot cooter doll designer and will blow you away. do do do. Oh. Like the song lyrics we all make wrong. Exactly. I just got rejected from Shankar. It's the biggest fashion school in my country. Essentially, it was because I'm too poor and not from the right race, which is quite stupid because we're Jewish. Do you think I should try applying again? They really liked my illustrations, but I don't want to force myself where I'm not wanted. I mean, Shankar does have a very good reputation internationally. So there is that. I did recently talk to someone who lives in Israel and he had decided not to try to go to Shankar and like went to a different school completely because he didn't like the vibe over there. It was a very general conversation, but that is what he did say. Um, is there anything that they said where it was more specific about your work? Like they liked your illustrations, but they didn't like something else that you could work on because obviously you can't work on your race. That's I know that there are things like that happen in places. It's very surprising that they were so honest about it with you, but if you think that it's going to be a struggle because you're going to be discriminated against during your entire education, it might not be worth it to go to that school. Cuz to me, I don't know if that's an uphill battle that I want. Looking back, like I didn't choose Otis because I knew it was diverse, but when I went there and realized how diverse it was, it did make me feel better. Lots of Asian students, black students, Hispanic students because it's LA. There's everybody's in LA. So that did make me feel better about being at that school, you know. It was all part of the experience. It wasn't like something I fixated on, but it added to it. It's like, all the students are from everywhere. I have white teachers, I have black teachers, so it's like it was a good experience for me. So that might be something you have to think about. Da-da-da-da. Clothing is an experience, visual language, telling people who you are, and also how clothing can support emotionally, helping you to be more you as opposed to emotional shopping habits. Absolutely. One of the key things about fashion, and Cat Fantastic is another name, an OG name from a long time. Thank you. And, we wear clothes so that people can recognize this as part of their, part of, I don't want to use this word anymore, but like we used to use the word tribe a lot for like finding people like us. But you know, we find people to relate to through our outer appearance. And that can be something fashion related, or that can be something like, someone with a lot of tattoos, they'll kind of gravitate towards someone else with a lot of tattoos because you start thinking of them as like, a visual pack. You know, there's a lot of things like that about fashion that you can tap into. So give it some thought. Bridal party fashion seems like such a waste. Wait, why does this thing keep scrolling by itself? Okay. Bridal party fashion seems like such a big waste. It's a one wear deal. Absolutely. I'm a big fan of brides who are like, yeah, as long as you stick to this color theme, wear what you want, and then there's a better chance that the bridesmaid will be able to wear the dress again afterwards. I've been a bridesmaid in that situation before, so it's not a completely new concept, but I have been a bridesmaid where the bride's like, any shade of blue. Okay, listen. I doubt she's here. Not that I don't mind saying this to her face, but this girl had 13 bridesmaids, and I have never been part of, like, I've been bridesmaid many times in my 20s and 30s, but oh my God, she had 13 bridesmaids. And so she was like, yeah, everyone wear a shade of blue. So we all just pulled out a blue dress. Okay. And we all looked good because it was just like a sea of blue and then black tuxes and then the bride and groom. It looked nice. I do think that wedding culture can be quite toxic with how stringent and just like so nitpicky that some brides can be. Not all brides, but a lot of brides, you know. But yeah, the whole bridal thing, I think if you can get something where, and I don't think bridesmaids mind if the first time they wear something, it's as a bridesmaid if they can wear it again later. Or it can be one of those things where I was talking about the whole like wedding dress alteration scraps turn into lingerie where you can get something altered afterwards. Like maybe you wear the floor length version at the wedding and then you get it cut to like above the knee for a cocktail dress later on. Um, you know, there's a lot of stuff like that, I think. How to start doing fashion research and research articles such as fashion thesis that are displayed and published. I don't know. That's like really not my purview. Okay, I'm going to skip a bunch of stuff that I don't know how to answer. What would you say to someone who is on the fence about going to fashion school? Okay, here's the thing about fashion school. You have to learn stuff somewhere, somehow. Okay. You are probably considering fashion school because you feel that you do not have the knowledge to get to the next step in your desired career, whether it's your own business, going into corporate fashion, something. And so, if you're on the fence about fashion school, ask yourself, okay, if I don't go to fashion school, how else will I learn these things? And how else do I start networking? And if you have a good alternative, then go with the alternative because it's most likely the cheaper alternative. But still, like, do you have a good alternative for learning those things and starting your career networking? Which pattern making book do you recommend starting out from your Amazon storefront? Probably the Helen Joseph Armstrong. That one has pretty detailed notes, and the Connie Crawford, the blue cover, those two are good. My wedding was Halloween themed. Everyone in the party wore costumes. That sounds amazing. That sounds super fun. Here in the Bay Area, we have a dress code called San Fran Freak Show Formal. And it's kind of hard to explain, but it's like it is black tie, but it welcomes a little bit of weirdness, a little bit of kitsch. It's not like super strict conservative black tie. Um, it allows for a little bit of fun. You know, you'll see guys in like tuxedo kilts with like a fun tie or something. Um, Gowns that are a little bit not like your traditional pageant gowny sort of deal, but maybe a little bit more like if someone came looking like straight up from like a 1920s film noir, you know? So it's like a little bit more fun. Like you could wear a hat, well, not to a wedding. This is too attention getting for a wedding. But yeah. Do do do. Hey, party people. What do you think about Guape's designs? I have a whole video on that, so please go watch it. What is your opinion on wool yarn? It absolutely has its purposes. You know, knitwear, I love how people are like, love that question. I don't know what question you're talking about. What's your knitwear? Um, Not cut and sew knits. Okay, so knitwear has two categories. It has cut and sew, where you just have like yardage of like jersey fabrics, interlock fabrics, and then you have your pattern pieces and you cut them out just like you do with wovens. Those are cut and sew knits. And then you have your fully fashioned knits, where the whole thing is generally machine knitted using skeins of wool. And the reason why fully fashioned knits are more sustainable is because once you're done knitting a sweater, you just clip the yarn. Okay. There's no yarn wastage involved because the whole thing is planned out in stitches. And so once you're done with the yarn, you clip the yarn. There's no stuff like excess, like when you have a sheet of fabric and you cut it out and you have all these fabric scraps. And so that may not be a big deal. Like maybe you cut out a t-shirt and you didn't get that many scraps. And so you don't understand why it's a big deal. But you think about these companies that cut literal tens of thousands of t-shirts a day. And then you understand people making thousands and thousands of sweaters a day and how there's no yarn wastage coming off those sweaters, those fully fashioned sweaters. Then you understand the difference. Okay. At the end of the day, there's so many things that go into what is this sustainable material, what's better, recycled stuff, organic stuff, recycled organic stuff, like just use less stuff, like less stuff, whatever method it is, the less stuff method, okay? Less scrap, less waste, less just stuff out there in the world is always the better answer. And so if you want a sustainable method, like go look into knitwear. There are fashion programs that devote themselves solely to knitwear design because it is a highly technically like specific kind of learning. So yeah, that's a way to go. Just a gentle reminder for you to have some water or beverage. I like it. Thank you. I'm so dehydrated all the time. Gatorade for electrolytes. Is the fashion industry as saturated as it appears to be? There are 8 billion, like literally, I think the ticker clicked over to 8 billion just the other day. There are 8 billion people on the planet. Everything is saturated. But you have to look for the less saturated pockets. Like I said before, everyone wants to be a designer. That's why designers get paid so little because everyone wants to be a designer. So they don't have to pay people a lot of money to become a designer. But there are fewer pattern makers because it requires a lot of learning and a lot of skill. There are people who want to go into production. There aren't that many people who want to go into production. Even tech design is a less desired field. But I've had many a design student transfer majors to tech design because they just preferred it. Like they have a more analytical mind. They like things to be a little bit more organized. They love the idea of putting together tech packs and like really seeing design from that sort of view. And so there are a lot of things out there. I have a video called Careers in Fashion where I talk about all the things that you can do within the fashion industry that don't have anything to do with design, that are just adjacent to design or whatnot that you can go into. And again, I talked about categories of fashion design that are not being made. So go reach out for those places. If you have a nursing degree, but you want to go to fashion university, should you start as an undergraduate? Not necessarily, but it really depends on the school. Like one of the schools I used to teach at, they did not have any fashion requirement for their grad program. They might have changed it. It's been 5 years since I taught there. But a lot of schools, like if you have a bachelor's in something that's completely unrelated, they might require you to start as an undergrad. So it's a school by school basis. So some fashion schools, they'll accept like a fine art major or like a fashion marketing major going into fashion design, something like that. So you have to ask. This hat I love. I know, right? It makes me so happy. It just brings me so much joy. Like it's not made out of any sustainable materials, but it was made by hand by a small business that I found on Etsy. And I'm going to take really good care of this hat, hold on to it forever, and bequeath it to some younger niece or nephew that wants it. Because it's made very well. It's very sturdy. It's very heavy. These jewels are for real jewels, and they're very heavy. And so to me, it's sustainable because, yeah. When is this going to a landfill? Never, if I have anything to do with it. It's going to be in my front of all my favorite loves closet. Pattern making sounds fun, by the way. You know what? I love it. I love it. Oh God, I really need to figure out a setup to make pattern making videos. It's just like, there's my studio. There's my big table. Where am I going to fit a tripod? Like, I need a cameraman. This is what Like, I had to, like, put pattern making videos on hold because, during the pandemic, we were all quarantining, and I didn't want it to bring a cameraman in here. Now I gotta find a cameraman. Da, da, da. When you say network in fashion school, are you saying with just the students and teachers? Well, students and teachers for sure, yeah, like, all the admins network with students outside your major as well, in all different art and design majors. Also, I'm a big fan of fashion students volunteering at events in town. I do not support free internships, but volunteering, like for a night at a fashion event, you should do a bunch of those because if you volunteer at the occasional fashion event, that's not stopping you from paying your rent or keeping a regular job. So it's different, the whole unpaid labor thing. So I used to do volunteer at a lot of events around LA when I was in school. And I had so much fun. I would we would all go and like really solidified my friendships. I got to know people and party and get free drinks and just, and you run around and you talk to people. um, it's really good. So yeah, students, teachers, go work events, find out what kind of events, even like if they're only vaguely fashion related, any kind of arts and design, culturally related events, see if they're looking for volunteers to like work backstage as dressers. And then like a lot of the time, you work backstage during the event and they give you a couple of free drink tickets. And so you can party with people afterwards. Um, Make sure you're 21 in the US. And then, you know, go run around with people. My favorite networking tip is to take a wingman because it's real for most people. It's easier to talk up someone else than it is to talk up yourself. Most of us. Okay. And so it's really, my friend Kenny and I, we used to do this, and he's a stylist, or he was a stylist back in the day. And so we used to go around. I'm like, "Oh, you're looking for a stylist? You need to talk to my friend Kenny because he is bomb," and et cetera, et cetera. And he would talk about me and how I'm like a great designer, blah, blah, blah. And it doesn't sound like you're bragging because you're talking about somebody else, but you are getting the compliments and your accomplishments in the conversation. So yeah. Mm, do do do. Uh, TT blew up the crochet vest. I don't know what that means, but yeah, TikTok will latch onto a trend and blow things up. Just really, yeah. San Fran Freak Show formal. I've seen that literally written out like that on wedding invitations. Uh, what do you think of the Target Granny Square vest? So cheap, yet there isn't a crochet machine like knitting machine people would need to make the squares. Yeah, there's no such thing as mass produced crochet because they don't have crocheting machines like they have knitting machines. And so they probably just knitted it to make it look like crochet, but I honestly do not follow every fast fashion trend. So I don't know. Like I see it when I go to Target to buy groceries and like, Clorox, but, but I don't like really follow it. I love the video you did recently all about denim. Can you do more like it about t-shirts, overalls? Yeah, I do want to do another one like that. I did enjoy doing that one very much. No anniversary champagne. Well, I don't actually drink alcohol, but I probably should have gotten like a sparkling spider or sparkling cider or something. Yeah. Do you have any book recommendations for fashion sustainability? Yeah. Hold on. Wait, it's right here. This one is Fashion Fibers Designing for Sustainability. And this is really for designers. And it's pretty sciencey and it goes into different fabrics and how they can be sustainable and, what recycled things are, why something organic is good for us. They go there, it's categorized by fabric, um, you know, or like cotton, flax, jute, bamboo, like it goes by fiber. and goes into that. And it's actually meant to be a textbook. There are actual assignments at the end of every chapter. And I've been reading this as part of my research for that book on sustainability I was talking about earlier. This is a really good one. It's a hefty one. This is not a casual read. Like look at all the post-its I have in here for all the good parts, but it's a good one. It's a good one. Do do do. Is a fashion designer required to understand pattern making, or they just design and let other people figure it out how to make it? Okay, so listen, designers often do just design things and let other people figure it out, but I think that rudimentary pattern making skills are key for fashion designers, because the more a designer knows about how to create a garment, the better of a designer they can be, and they have more creativity tools at their disposal when they know the basics of how to make things. Like, for example, I have this amazing book on fashion embroidery and beading. Do I have it over here? I must have put it away, but I've been reading this book because not because I'm going to be some sort of expert beater, but expert beater, that sounds terrible. I'm not going to be an expert on beading, but just learning basic techniques about beading. I can design cooler designs, beading designs for my dresses, because I know the basics of different beading techniques, and I can kind of refer to them and create cool beading designs. So, like that, pattern making is like basic pattern making is a tool you can have in your pocket to understand how garments get put together, and also to have intelligent conversations with your sample making crew. Most people refer pattern making on paper or digital ones. Most people learn on paper first, because you kind of want to learn the basics of pattern making before you are learning a digital program on top of the pattern making. It's a little bit like learning how to draw flats, and then you learn how to draw flats in Adobe Illustrator, because first you're learning what the thing is, and then you're layering computer skills on top of that. So I am just is it crazy to start as an undergrad in your 30s? Absolutely not. I talked about this a lot in the beginning of the live stream, so go ahead and watch the recording if you want to know more about that. But as someone up here said that they're 61, like forget it. 30s is nothing. Been designing since senior year of high school, went to college to study fashion design, marketing, did internship with a menswear designer. My quest for freelancing, how did I get started? I'm not really sure what that means. Mm, are you going to keep this live up after it ends? Yes, I am going to post the recording. But yeah, I have been just talking nonstop for an hour and 42 minutes. Is that the last of the questions? Did I catch everyone? I'm just scrolling a little bit. The criticizing of designer and collections, I find that most times people want for collections to inspire them, but the job of a label/house is to create items for their core customers. I agree with that. I think that a lot of critics, they're like, it didn't move me. It's like, well, did it move their customers' wallets? Like, that's really what designers care about. Like, if they want to keep their jobs, there is a balance. There is absolutely a balance needed where, the best creative directors have point of view. Something I say a lot is anyone can make a dress. Okay. Literally almost anyone can make a dress. I made a skirt in Girl Scouts when I was 8. Okay. So anyone can make a dress, but a true designer has a point of view and can produce collection after collection after collection of designs that work with the brand, work with the customer, show something new, you know, over and over and over again. And that's the difference, okay? And if it doesn't sell, if it's not hitting their core customer, design and you know, anytime there's a dip in sales, the designer, the creative director is the first to get fired. Even if it was a problem in the shipping, in the supply chain elsewhere, the designer is always the first to get fired because it's a visual outward signal to their customers that they're going to fix the problem they had last season. Okay. That's their way of communicating to their customers. They're going to fix it, the executives, by firing the creative director. Okay. That is absolutely a marketing move. And so the fact that she's still there says a lot. Do you think they can't find someone to work at Dior any day of the week? How many of you, if you were tapped on the shoulder, be like, you want to be creative director? Come on. They could fill that slot so fast. They would do it so fast it would look like Amazon Prime was slow. Okay? Like they could do it yesterday, but they don't. But they don't. Okay? She is at her strength is definitely accessories, but guess what? That's what everyone buys. Like all these big brands, you think they're making money off of their ready to wear? We had this conversation on the last couture video. Couture doesn't make money. Do they sell pieces? Of course they do, but they don't turn a profit. They don't make enough to turn a profit. It's a marketing machine. It's like the whole point of couture is to show people that we are still a creativity powerhouse and that we have money to burn on 2 couture collections every year. It's a statement piece. And that's why in that video, I was so critical of boring designs. It's like, you need to make a statement with haute okay? Haute is about making a statement. It's not about creating beautiful ready to wear, okay? When a couture client, if they like something and they think the whole dress is beautiful, but the sleeves are too avant-garde for them, they will just say so. They'll be like, give me some normal ass sleeves with that. And the couture house will do it. So it's not about clothes. Couture is not about clothes. It used to be about clothes. It absolutely started off being the only collections that a designer produced. And those were the collections, those were the clothes, and that was it. Okay. But with ready to wear, with accessories, with all these things that designers have to, couture is no longer the thing. It's more of a economics thing. Okay. To get rid of this spam bot, and now I can't read anything. I do have a how to find a fashion job video. There are a couple of you asking about that, but go watch my how to find a fashion job video. I go over that. Who do you think will replace Virgil Abloh? I don't know. I don't know enough about the second generation. Like I don't really keep track of that pool of people to know. Is freelance fashion illustration enough as a rewarding career financially? And how does one start their journey as a freelance fashion illustrator? Okay, first of all, go ahead and do watch that video with Marcus Kahn. And in terms of is it rewarding? Yeah, like if you it's not going to be in terms of like, can I just do simple watercolor illustrations and sell them to individuals? And can I make enough money to sustain myself forever doing just that? No. Illustrators have to market themselves just like anybody else, and they have to think about merchandising and how else to spread word of their illustrations and to create products and to have partnerships with companies. Like There are a lot of options that Marcus and I discussed in that video that I mentioned where an illustrator can branch out, but the main core being their illustration. But it's not, you cannot build a career off of just doing watercolors at home and selling them one at a time individually on your online store. That's not how that works. Okay. Um, you have to do more than that. For someone making a portfolio for design BA, do you think constructing garments of my own design, even if inefficient and exercising my intuition, is okay rather than using patterns from the internet? Patterns from the internet. Yeah, I don't trust patterns from the internet. I would I would prefer to get a good pattern making book, like the ones I recommended, and make something that's like if you were making like say a shift dress, but have your own twist on things. Great. Draft the shift dress, make a muslin of it, make the changes you need on the muslin, and then make the changes on the pattern and go from there. I don't know who's making these patterns from the internet that you mentioned in your comment. So I'm not going to trust that. I'm going to make my own. Have I bought Guape's book? I have a book of Guape's. I don't recall if it might be their official one. I think I bought it at the museum exhibit that I went to in Orange County. Do I watch any fashion competition shows? No. It's really not my when I watch TV, I watch it in terms of escapism. Right now I'm watching The Boys, which is okay, first of all, it is for adults, okay? It's a very adult show. Second of all, it's a gross show, okay? There is some gore in it. So if you have a weak stomach, don't watch it. If you're 13, don't watch it. It's about superheroes, but not in a Marvel. It's like the opposite of Marvel in every way. But it's about superheroes and how effed up they are or can be in it's like a alternate reality where superheroes do exist but not in a Marvel comic sort of way. And I just finished watching The Bear, and then before that I watched Hacks. Like I don't like watching fashion related stuff mostly when I'm like on my off time. I love Jean Smart so much. Like ever since the Designing Women days. Like I love Jean Smart so much. She's so good. Anything she's in, I'll try watching it. Hilda de la Torre, also an old name from back in the day. Not saying you're old, I'm just saying like I've seen your name around in my comment section a lot. What did you think of the Schiaparelli show? I did post my review on that. Can you tell me how to get an idea to make a dress? No. You have to do that. If you want to be a designer, you have to do that. Go watch my fashion design process videos. The thing with me though, and the thing with a lot of designers is we don't design a dress. We design collections. So I never think in terms of a dress. I really don't. How do I freelance my designs? How do I get started and get my foot in the door? If you want to be a freelance designer, I don't know a lot of people who are looking for freelance designers. A lot of people are designers who are looking to get help making things. So there's that. Like people look for freelance designers who already are famous in some sort of way. As someone just started getting into fashion design, what's the best place to start when learning the culture and history of fashion? If you want to learn, oh, you know who has a good fashion history channel? Like I have a few of them, but they're like I'm not very in depth. But oh man, I've mentioned her channel a bunch of times before. But there's a fashion history channel. Hold on. Hold on. Ultimate Fashion History. Ultimate Fashion History. This lovely British lady narrates them, and she does a ton of amazing fashion history videos. And my special favorites are the ones where she talks about colors that are prominent within each color period or each fashion history period. Love those. That's a great channel to watch. Do you have your own fashion brand? No. Is it on Hulu? Maybe. I forget. Uh, the boys threw me for a loop. I'm serious. I'm only on 3 episodes and I am hooked. Okay? Like that scene where she was sitting on his face. I'm like I am so what? Ah! But the whole show is like yeah. And the main guy, I like feel his anxiety all the time. I feel it all the time. And you know the Starlight girl, don't you think she kind of reminds you of a blonde Selena Gomez in like the way she talks and a little bit of her face, but like really just the way she intones and like talks. It kind of reminds me of Selena Gomez in Only Murders in the Building, which is also good. Yeah, all the murders in the like Only Murders in the Building, that one is good. But yeah, like the Starlight character, she totally reminds me of how Selena Gomez talks and like the kind of like yeah. And the bear is good. Someone said that the guy who plays the bear, the main character, is like a blue collar Timothy Chalamet, and now I cannot unsee it. Would an associate's in fashion design be sufficient, or would you need a bachelor's? A lot more companies look for bachelor's degrees, but you know what? You know what you should do is go look up some fashion jobs and see what kind of jobs you can get with an associate's degree to help you make up your mind. If you see a bunch of jobs that say associate's a degree is okay, then maybe that's the way to go. So you can go to like say my job site spread at threaded.space and look up the jobs there and see, you know, is it a good idea to start designing on yourself? Mm, I mean, we all have to start somewhere. Have you ever done a video on designing shoes? No, that's not really my area of expertise, and I do not feel confident enough to speak on it. I don't talk about stuff I don't know about. Is it good that I start with 2 products like shoes and t-shirts? No. Pick one. Because especially if you don't have any background fashion experience, you have, music background. If you don't have fashion experience at all, to start with 2 really separate categories is not a good place to start. Start with one category, do it well, and expand. How do you create your own patterns? Um, the easiest way to do it is to create a block and then adjust from the block. So for example, like you would start with like a basic bodice. And then if you wanted to change the neckline, then you draft the pattern with a new neckline. You start with a basic sleeve. And if you wanted to turn it into a cap sleeve, a short sleeve, an elbow sleeve, like you would adjust the pattern to using the same sleeve block to create all these different lengths of sleeves. And then like the Helen Joseph Armstrong book, the good thing about it is it shows so many style variations. Like it'll show you how to take that main sleeve block pattern and turn it into a puff sleeve, turn it into a fluted sleeve, turn it into a leg of mutton sleeve, turn it into a raglan sleeve, turn it into a dolman sleeve. But you start with that first sleeve block and then you manipulate it into all these different shapes of sleeves. But the key being that you have the sleeve cap measurement and that curve, like that's the most important part of the sleeve pattern. You get that right and then you manipulate around it. So you have to start your blocks. And the book does tell you how to create your own blocks. What do you think about unpaid internships, voluntary work in fashion? I'm anti internships. I'm pro volunteering for one-time events. I went over that earlier too, but that's the gist of it. Hello to Algeria. Do do do. Any tips for productivity? I do have a video called How to Be Productive When You're Feeling Like Donkey. And someone, like, it took a long time for anybody to get that joke. Like, you can't really cuss on YouTube. And so it's like, what to do when you feel like ass. But I said donkey instead. And people didn't really pick up on the donkey thing for a long time. See, look at these comments all about my hat and how amazing my hat is. And my hat is amazing. See, that's what I'm talking about. You like purchase out of the love of something and not just like this dumb thing that you're going to wear once. I'm going to wear this a million times in my life and I'm going to love it every time I wear it. Okay. So buy the things that bring you so much joy and love and happiness, and even brings happiness to other people by just looking at it. Why do you wear all black styles on your videos? Because it's my teaching uniform. Well, back when I was in university or teaching at a university, I wore a long sleeve black t-shirt. I have like 10 of these um, from different brands and slightly different fabrics. This one is a thicker one. I have thinner ones for really hot days. And then jeans and just ridiculous shoes. I have a lot of ridiculous shoes. I'm very happy with my shoes. And I'm pro uniform, especially for work, because I don't really like thinking about what to wear a lot, you know? I um I like messing around on my face with makeup sometimes, but I like going to work every day with a uniform, like long sleeve black t-shirt, jeans, weird shoes, okay? In the winter, I love outerwear. I love, if I'm buying any creative clothes, it's extravagant outerwear. And yeah, it's just like this, it's just my uniform. It's the thing that I feel most comfortable in. I do have other clothes, dresses and stuff for when I'm traveling, when I go out. I never throw anything away, so I have a lot of stuff. I take really good care of my things. I have shoes from high school. So, and I'm 42. So I've had stuff for a long time, but this is my work uniform. When I first started my channel, I was kind of experimenting with different shirts. And so I have like one video where I'm wearing a pink button down and one video I'm wearing a chambray button down. And my students at university told me that they could not recognize me during that video, those videos. Like, how dare you? Would a fashion designer be useful in a fashion museum? Not a designer, but like I think if you have a fashion design degree, it does showcase that you have a lot of fashion knowledge. Once upon a time, and by that I mean like 20 plus years ago when I was going to school. And Valerie Steele, she speaks about this as well, is there was a time where there weren't a lot of specialized fashion degrees. And so if you wanted to work in any area of fashion, you generally just got a fashion design degree. Okay. Almost all the fashion degrees were fashion design degrees. And then you went off and got fashion jobs in all kinds of different areas, but you had a fashion design degree. But now we have, fashion has been blowing up and fashion careers are blowing up. And so there's so many majors. Okay. And so you have costume design, fashion journalism, fashion merchandising, which is not the same as visual merchandising, you know, all costume history. Costume history is probably the most closely related to working at a fashion museum in terms of degrees of study. But if you wanted to work at a fashion museum and you had a fashion design degree, but you had more experience like interning for a museum, working exhibits, taking extra courses in costume history, like maybe you minored in costume history, those kinds of things would amp up a resume to go work at a museum. Uh, is there a way to make a sustainable fashion design? how deep you wanna go with that. I do have videos on sustainable fashion. They're on its own playlist. I used to be Zoe's illustration model. Can concur she wore the same thing every day. Yeah, I wore the same thing every day. This is my favorite university story. Oh my god. So, back when I was teaching at university, like, most days I wore makeup, some days I didn't, okay? It didn't like and I didn't wear video makeup and in-person makeup are very different, okay? I'm wearing video makeup right now, but, like, in person, like, I tinted moisturizer, a little eyebrow, slap some lipstick, sometimes nothing, and I wore this all the time, minus the hat, right? So one day, I go to school, and it was one of the few days I didn't have anything on my face, I had no makeup on, and I looked kinda schleppy. It was like the week before finals, but it was like all my students were emailing me constantly. I was like my office hours were jam-packed full. I was running workshops and labs and whatever. And I get an email on my way to school being like, "So listen, the Princess of Saudi Arabia is coming to visit your classroom today. And what you need to do is to just conduct your class normally. Do not say hi. Do not stop. Do not make eye contact with the princess. Do not do anything. There will be a camera crew. Just keep going as if we're not there." Because that school, they had a relationship with the King of Saudi Arabia, and there were a handful of students there on the King scholarship, and so the princess had come to check on how the school was doing. And I did have a couple of those, King scholarship students in my classes, and I guess that's why they were coming to visit me, like a handful of different teachers. And I'm just like, "Oh my god, okay, so the princess of motherfucking Saudi Arabia is coming to visit. Okay, cool." And I was kinda glad that I was supposed to ignore them because what am I supposed to do? I don't know royal protocol, okay? And so I was it was open work time. And so I'm up on the table, the demo table in the front, and everyone's working on their final projects in class. And one of my students had come in and brought me her project rough draft, and it was bad. And so I was just like marking it up and with lots of pencil. And when you're working with pencil and there's like a lot of pencil on the paper, it was on tracing paper, and I had graphite smears all up my arms. I pulled my hair into a bun really fast because I was like working. I had like no makeup on, and I was just in long sleeve black t-shirt and jeans. I was looking pretty raggedy, and I was like basically, just going over all these mistakes with my student when she was in the most perfect pink skirt suit I had ever seen in my life, and I would bet you $1,000 it was like probably some sort of like $60,000 hot cooter suit from Chanel or Dior, and I just saw it out of the corner of my eye. I was supposed to ignore her, remember? And the camera crew is taking pictures of me looking more disgusting than I've looked in public than I ever have in my life. But yeah, uniform every day. I don't know why I told you that story, but yeah, that's university life, man. Is fashion a job or a hobby to you? I'm not gonna answer that. Hit the like button. Thank you. I am not gonna wear Chanel. Coco Chanel was a Nazi, and Karl Lagerfeld was a Nazi light, and I'm so not interested in any of that. Do, do, do. What do you recommend doing for a fashion portfolio for people who are planning on majoring in fashion? Every school's portfolio requirements are different. So the most important thing to do is to look at each individual school's application requirements and ask the admissions department of that school your questions for that school's portfolio. Every school, literally every school is different. Hmm. Mhm. Okay. Okay, it is 11. I've been on for over 2 hours, so Imma close it up now. most of the remaining questions I can't answer anyway. Thank you so much for celebrating 7 years with me. Thank you so much for supporting me over the years, especially those of you who've been around since the very beginning. Um, it's been really good. It's had its ups and downs, of course, like anything else. But this is literally the longest job I've ever had because it has been the most rewarding. And I have you to thank for that. Um, so yeah, I am gonna set up this recording so you can watch it from the beginning for those of you who joined us very late. Um, please like this video. Please share this with your friends. And yeah, I'll see you in the next video. I love you. Bye. Okay, everybody wrap up your chats. Where's the... Oh, there it is.